Hello everyone! Are you looking for a highly aggressive commander deck? Well, if so, I've got a treat for you today. Maelstrom Wanderer Tribal Dragons. He's a very aggressive general, and dragons are a very aggressive tribe. So I'll jump right in. Maelstrom Wanderer. Crazy, crazy card. So he's got double Cascade. So what that means is, when you cast him, you get to reveal cards from the top of your library until you exile a non-land card that costs less. So in that case, it's always going to be 7 or less. So you do that once, you put that card into play, you cast it for free if you want to, and then you do it again. So you get 3 things for the price of 1 with this card. Excellent general, great card. And then on top of that, by the way, he also gives all your creatures haste, including himself. So, yeah, I mean, if you want to play an aggressive deck, Maelstrom Wanderer is the general for you for sure. So then what you're doing is, once you get him out, in my build here, I've got Hellkite Tyrant, Flying Trample. Whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you gain control of our artifacts that player controls. That's going to help you out a lot, I'll tell you that. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you have 20 or more artifacts, you win the game, by the way. Balefire Dragon. Whenever it deals combat damage to an opponent, it deals that much damage to each creature that player controls. It's a board wipe on a creature. Scourge of Valkus. Whenever it or another dragon enters the battlefield under your control, it's going to deal X damage to target creature or player, where X is the number of dragons that you control. And then it's got Fire Breathing on top of that. +1/+0 until end of turn for every red you pay. Flying. They almost all have flying. It's a great thing about dragons, too. Atarka World Render. Flying and Trample. And whenever a dragon creature you control attacks, it gains double strike until end of turn. And that includes itself as well. So it's already, a double striking flying trample creature with 6 power. It's pretty crazy. So you're just dumping in lots of things like that into play. And, with dragons, you have lots of these awesome things to just dump in with this commander. So once you've cast Maelstrom Wanderer, it just kind of sits there on play, though. And that's what I was seeing a lot of when I saw people playing this commander. And, I mean, it's great that it gives you creatures haste, but when you cast it, that's when you get the most benefit out of it. So I decided when I was building this deck to run a lot of these creature return cards into here. So these things just allow you to get Maelstrom Wanderer back to your hand, and then you recast it every turn, and you get Cascade after Cascade after Cascade. You're getting 3 things every single turn. So it's so much value with this card and with these cards that I put in here in this deck. So what I've got in here is Crystal Shard. You can pay 3 generic mana, or what I usually do is pay the blue, because I have good mana fixing in here. And you tap it, and you return a creature to its owner's hand unless its controller pays 1 generic mana. So you just use it on Maelstrom Wanderer, you don't pay the 1. I've got Erratic Portal. Same thing, basically. 1 mana, tap it, return a creature to its owner's hand unless its controller pays 1. You do the same thing. Vidalcan Mastermind. Pay a blue, tap it, same thing. Return target permanent you control to its owner's hand. So I've just got a bunch of these effects in here. I've got 6 of them. I won't go through all of them. They're, do all about the same thing. You got the idea. But those add a lot of value to the deck when you're able to cast Maelstrom Wanderer every single turn consistently. So then, in order to get to Maelstrom Wanderer, though, it is an 8 CMC card. So the next thing I put in here is a lot of ramp cards, and a lot of not just ramp cards that get you 1 mana, but stuff that gets you 2 or 3 mana at a time. So what I've got, or in Greenseeker's case, more. What I've got is, just to show you a few of these cards, I won't go through all of them, but I've got Greenseeker, All you have to do is pay a green mana, discard a card, and you search your library for a basic land card. You reveal it, and you put it into your hand. And so you'll never miss a land drop with this card. That's why it's in here, because you need to consistently be dropping lands every turn to get Maelstrom Wanderer out. Somberwall Sage. You tap to add 3 mana of any one color to your mana pool, to be used only on creature spells. But hey, all you have to do is cast Maelstrom Wanderer in this deck, really, and everything else casts itself off of that. Then I've got Nissa's Renewal. You can search your library for up to 3 basic land cards. Put them onto the battlefield tapped. And then you gain 7 life on top of that. Great. So if you got 6 lands out, you go straight from 6 to 9 with this card. Really helps you get Maelstrom Wanderer out. And I've got tons of ramp here. And you can take a look at that on Nonstop MTG on eBay again. Next thing I've got in this deck are just value cards. Things that add extra value to your dragons. And so I've got Sarkhan Unbroken. Draw a card, add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool for the +1. Neg 2 is put a 4/4 red dragon into play. And Neg 8 is grab any number of dragons from your deck. Put them onto the battlefield. Obvious choice in a, dragon deck of these colors. Asceticism, all your creatures have hexproof. You can regenerate them. Excellent card. Dragon Tempest. Yeah, I got tribal dragon stuff in here. That's just great. This is awesome. Whenever a creature with flying enters the battlefield under your control, gains haste, in case you don't have Maelstrom out. And whenever a dragon enters the battlefield under your control, it's going to deal X damage to target creature or player, where X is the number of dragons you control. Sight of the Scale Lords. At the beginning of combat on your turn, creatures you control with toughness 4 or greater get +2/+2, gain vigilance until end of turn. So that's basically all of your dragons. That's just about everything in this deck. All these dragon creatures are going to get +2/+2 in vigilance. Surrak Dragonclaw. He can't be countered. He's got flash. Creature spells you control can't be countered. Other creatures you control have trampled. Great. That's adding all kinds of extra power and control to your dragons. Warstorm Surge. Whenever a creature enters a battlefield under your control, deals damage equal to its power to target creature or player. That's just a mono red staple. Any red deck that's running creatures at all, should be running Warstorm Surge. Such a good card. Primal Rage gives all your creatures trample. Yeah, got a couple of those effects in there with the Surrak Dragonclaw as well. And then I've got some creature tutors. So I've got Worldly Tutor, grab a creature, and put it on top of your deck. So if you hit this with your first cascade on Maelstrom Wanderer, you just put a creature on top, and then you cascade into it. You put it right into play. Excellent. Same idea with Brutalizer Exarch. Does the same thing. Sarkhan's Triumph, it's a dragon tutor. Hoarding Dragon. When it enters the battlefield, you get to search for an artifact card and exile it. And then when this dies, you can put that card into your hand. Imperial Hellkite, another dragon tutor. It tutors on the morph. What's great is, even if you cascade into this, you can still use one of those creature bounce effects and return this to your hand, put it face down, and then morph it face up for the tutor. Because there's 1 or 2 cards in here that go above 7 CMC. Like I know Udvera Hellkite, excellent card. Is going to be something that you're going to want to tutor for if you don't draw into it, because you can't cascade it out with Maelstrom Wanderer because it's 1 CMC too high for it. So that's what that's for, and you can use the creature tutors like that for that card specifically too. So then I've got some removal. No commander deck would be complete without good removal. I've got Steel Hellkite. It's a dragon, and it can wipe your opponent's board. It destroys each non-land permanent with converted mana cost X when you pay X, whose controller was dealt combat damage by Steel Hellkite this turn. And you activate that once per turn. And Destructor Dragon, when it dies, you destroy a non-creature permanent. It's a dragon and then removal, so that's great. Acidic Slime, got Death Touch, and when it enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land. Spine of Ishsa, when it enters the battlefield, destroy target permanent, and when it's put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you return it to its owner's hand. So this actually combos with Phyrexia's Core. And so Phyrexia's Core says, pay 1 generic mana, tap it, sack an artifact, you gain a life. So what you do is you use Phyrexia's Core to sacrifice Spine of Ishsa, return it to your hand, and then you just rinse and repeat. You can keep removing things with that. Then I've got, lastly, I've got Scour from Existence here. Exile target permanent, instant speed for 7 mana. And then there's actually a couple more removal effects on the dragons themselves that you can check out on my eBay page if you'd like. But so they can remove creatures. There's one that can remove artifacts. There's lots of stuff in there if you dig through that. Another thing I've gotten here is I've got a little bit of recursion. So I've got Eternal Witness, fantastic card. When it enters the battlefield, you can return a card from your graveyard to your hand. So again, it's another thing that you can bounce. So you return Eternal Witness to your hand every turn, and you can keep getting cards back. So I mean, if you want to get your removal back, you just get Scour from Existence back every turn, exile something every turn. Excellent. Praetor's Council, return your graveyard to your hand. You exile Praetor's Council, no max hand size for the rest of the game. That's a green staple. Creeping Renaissance, choose a permanent type, return all cards of the chosen type from your graveyard to your hand. You could get all your dragons back. Flashes back as well. And then I've just got a couple of life gain cards in here. You're going to want to have at least a little bit. If you can find other ones, even, you might want to add them to this deck as well. But this will keep you alive. Loxodon Warhammer gives your equipped creature +3/+0, trample, and lifelink. Tablet of the Guilds. When it comes into play, you choose 2 colors. Whenever you cast a spell, if it's at least one of the chosen colors, you gain a life for each one of the colors it is. So in this deck, you're generally going to be choosing red and green, because there's a lot of that. There's a lot of green ramp, and there are a lot of red dragons. So a lot of times you're going to be gaining 2 life off of a cast, especially when you're casting Maelstrom Wanderer. But you'll be gaining at least 1 life on everything that you cast off of that. So that keeps your life total up. So then for non-basic lands, I've got a couple of dragon lands here. I've got Crucible of the Spirit Dragon. You can pay 1 mana, tap it, you put a storage counter on it, and then you can tap it and remove as many storage counters as you want. And it adds that much mana in any combination of colors to your mana pool for casting dragon spells or activating the abilities of dragons. Then you've got Haven of the Spear Dragon. You can tap it for generic mana, or you can tap it for 1 mana of any color to cast a dragon creature, or you can pay 2, tap it, and sacrifice it to return a dragon creature card from your graveyard to your hand. And then for non-basics in here, I've just got lots and lots of good mana fixing. You've got lots of red, blue, and green mana in here. You've got lots of green, especially to get your ramp cards early in the game, so that you can fix yourself into the red and the blue mana, rather. And then you've also got a good amount of red, because your dragons cost a lot of red. They have activated abilities that use red. And then I've got a minimal number of basic lands, but I've got mostly forests. I've got 7 forests in here, 4 mountains, and I've got 4 islands. So that is the deck, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you'd like to see the entire deck, again, go to Nonstop MTG on eBay, and make sure to hit like and subscribe on this video if you were into it and you want to see more from me. And I'll see you next time with more great decks.